Get ready for a self-working miracle that you're going to love. This effect is as fun as it is easy to perform and ends with something truly extraordinary. So grab a deck and let's uncover the impossible. Okay, so as ever, let's just kickstart by taking a look at the effect itself, a demonstration of gambler's instinct, and you can just start by giving the deck a quick shuffle. Now, the first thing we want to do is have the spectator select a random card. So you're just going to take the deck here and you're going to deal 2 rows of 4 cards to the table. So there's the first row and there's the second row. We're now going to ask the spectator to select just one of these rows. It's a totally free choice. They can select either row. Let's say in this instance, they select the top row just here. You're going to take the cards from the other row and just return these to the deck. We're now going to ask the spectator from the selected row just to select one single card. And again, it's a totally free choice. They can select any card. Let's say in this instance, they select this card just here. Once again, you'll take the other cards and just return these to the deck. Ask the spectator to place their selected card on the side, and you're just going to emphasize to the spectator that that is a totally free and fair choice. And you can explain that actually you think they've got some gambler's instinct, and that's what you'd like to test just a little bit now. We've already asked them to select a card, so now we'd like them to do just a few more things. So you're just going to demonstrate how you now want them to deal cards into 3 piles on the table, and they can deal cards wherever they like, and they can deal as many cards as they like. So hand the deck to the spectator and they'll continue this dealing. And they really can deal any cards to any pile. It's a totally free choice, and they can stop dealing whenever they feel like it. Let's say in this instance, they stop dealing just about here. They can place the rest of the deck to the side. At this point, you just ask the spectator whether they sense anything special about any of these piles, specifically about a number of cards that they've just dealt to each of these piles. And they'll probably say that they don't, but you can explain you'd just like to check that. So you're now going to ask the spectator just to quickly count the number of cards in each of the piles. So for the first pile of cards here, the spectator will just count the cards to the table. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You can explain that that's a pretty good number. They'll now count the cards in the second pile just here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cards. Again, you'd explain that's pretty good. And finally, the third pile just here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards. Again, a pretty good number. And with those numbers, you can explain you think the spectator definitely has promise, but there's also definitely room for improvement. So you're now going to ask the spectator to see whether they can improve on each of those numbers. So ask the spectator just to take the first pile of cards just here. And you're going to explain that in real gambling, we often burn the top card, just moving it to the bottom to prevent from any cheating. So ask the spectator to do that now, just move the top card to the bottom. And now you're going to ask them to discard any number of cards that they like by dealing them individually into a separate discarded pile over here. It's a totally free choice. They can deal as many cards as they like. So let's say they just deal some cards like so and stop dealing just about there. They'll place the remaining cards on the table. Ask them now to take the second pile and do exactly the same, burning the top card to the bottom and then discarding of any number of cards that they like. So let's say they deal some cards like so, placing the remaining cards on the table. And then finally, the third pile just here. Once again, exactly the same, burning the top card and then discarding of any number of cards that they like. With that done, you can just take the discarded pile over here and place these cards to the side. With that done, you can once again just ask the spectator whether they now sense anything special about the piles, and again specifically about the number of cards in each pile. And once again, they'll probably say that they don't, but you can explain that you think things really have improved. And so you're now just going to ask the spectator again just to quickly count the number of cards they now have in each pile. So the first pile here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're going to explain that you think that is a perfect number. They'll do the same with the second pile just here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you'd explain another perfect number. And for the third and final pile just here, 1, 2, 3. For 3 in a row, that's 3 perfect numbers. At this point, you can just quickly recap exactly what's happened. We started with the spectator selecting a random card. It was a totally free and fair choice. And in a test of gambler's instinct, we've had the spectator make a series of other free and fair choices to end up with 3 piles of random cards just here. For the very first time, you can now ask the spectator to reveal the identity of the card that they selected right at the very beginning. In this instance, we can see it is the King of Clubs. And now it's time to check in on the results of the rest of their dealing, asking the spectator to turn over the top card of each of the piles. In this instance, to reveal a king, a second king, and a third matching king to create an incredible 4 of a kind. That's 4 kings, and I think it's fair to say that that is pretty good gambler's instinct. A really fun effect that's also super easy to perform, so stick around because now I will show you exactly how it works. Okay, so let's take a look at the secret to this effect. Now to start with, there's just a small piece of preparation to carry out. You're going to prepare a small stack of 8 cards, and this will consist of the 4 kings on top, followed by the 4 queens. And you're just going to start with these 8 cards on top of the deck. Now you're going to start with a full shuffle just to make it look as though things really are mixed. And you can use any full shuffle you like, you just need to keep the top 8 cards in place. In the demonstration, I performed a simple overhand shuffle, and here's how that works. You're just going to shuffle off a small packet of cards covering your top 8 cards like so, and then you'll just bring the remainder of the deck down in front. You'll then grip the 2 packets, keeping them separated as you continue to shuffle cards from the larger packet in front until you've shuffled all of those cards. And then you'll bring the remaining packet over and placing it back on top of the deck. And at the end of that, your top 8 cards are still in place. You're now going to deal 2 rows of 4 cards to the table, dealing the first row and then the second row. So now you have a row of kings and a row of queens, and you're going to ask the spectator to select just one of these rows. They can select any row. Let's say they select the top row here. You're going to gather up the cards from the other row. You're then going to take the gathered cards here and place them on top of the deck, and then just casually cut those cards into the deck. Now you're going to ask the spectator to select just one card from their selected row, and of course in this instance that card will always be a king, and you can now just gather up the remaining cards. Take the gathered cards and place these on top of the deck in preparation for once again casually cutting them into the deck. This time however, you're going to perform a false cut to keep those cards on top, and this is just a simple false swing cut as follows. Holding the deck from above like so, with your index finger you're just going to swing off about half of the deck. You're then going to take this top half into your other hand. Both halves are then simultaneously going to pivot upwards, and in the act of putting the halves back together, you're going to take the original bottom half here and just place that back on the bottom of the deck as you turn the deck back up. So you still have your 3 kings on top, and at this point if you like you can perform just another full shuffle of your choice just to make it look as though things really are mixed. You're now going to demonstrate how you want the spectator to deal 3 piles of cards to the table. Handing the spectator the deck, they can deal as many cards as they like on top of any of the piles. It's a totally free choice. Of course, at the end of that, each pile now has a king as the bottom card. We're now going to bring those kings to the top by asking the spectator just to quickly count the cards in each pile. So just as follows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now to repeat exactly the same for the other 2 piles. And you can make up a story about the numbers of cards in each pile according to your presentation. With a king now on top of each pile, you're going to ask the spectator to take each pile and just to burn the top card by moving it to the bottom to prevent from any cheating. and then to discard of as many cards as they like by dealing them individually to the table. Of course, making sure that they still have some cards left. Ask the spectator to repeat exactly the same now with the other 2 piles. You can now ask the spectator again just to quickly count the number of cards they now have in each pile. So the first pile here, 1, 2, 3, and to repeat exactly the same for the other 2 piles. And at the end of that, you can now just check in on the spectator's gambler's instinct, asking them now to reveal the card they selected at the very beginning, in this instance, the King of Hearts. Ask them now to turn over the top card of each of the piles to reveal, in this instance, an incredible set of matching kings. And there you have it. Every time you learn something new, you're not just building skill, you're building self-belief. So keep exploring, keep practicing, and let that confidence grow with every performance. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep the magic alive.